Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. I'm going to call this meeting of the weekly meeting of the Codington County Board of Commissioners to order. It is Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Commissioner Gable, would you lead us today, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder, if you have a cell phone, if you would please silence it. If you need to take a call, if you could step out. We are also streaming live on YouTube. All right, item number 2, call for public comment. We will still take phone calls from individuals if they're not able to attend. And these are issues that are not on the agenda, and for information only, the 2 phone numbers are 882-6248 and 882-6297. Item number 3, conflict of interest items. Are there any for any fellow commissioners on the agenda?
No.
All right, item number 4, action to approve the May 18th, 2021 agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Van Duzen. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Item number 5, action to approve the May 11th, 2021 minutes of the Board of Codington County Commissioners.
So moved.
Motion by Gable,
Second.
second by Waterman. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We'll move on to monthly reports, and we'll start with our welfare director this morning. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning. I hope a little bit shorter.
Turn your mic on there, Sarah.
Oh, no, this way. Sorry, I was like, I don't want to touch that.
That could be bad.
Yeah. Here is the graphs, the charts. That. There we go.
You can just hand them to me. I'll pass it.
Pass them around.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, can I have one?
Here, there's some.
Yeah.
There, here, I got 2.
All right. We'll play.
Okay.
That's where they were.
There we go.
Yeah, you want this one?
So you can see in April, we served 34 unique individuals, which was 43 visits. April was a little bit slower month, I think, with the stimulus funds and that came in. May has been much, much busier. So probably look a little different in May. So far, the only expenses that we've had this year have been for burials with the funeral expenses. And then just the bottom 2 charts are the services provided and then who we have referred people to from our services. And so primarily CARES with housing and those kinds of things in CARES. One of the things that we'll work on getting on here is the case management piece that we started tracking. And so we'll add that to this chart going forward too. Any questions about the actual services we've been providing?
No, I would add though, sometime here in the near future, that $300, the extra $300 will be ending. Someone reported the Department of Labor, so I would expect maybe some uptick at that point too, so.
Yeah, that could potentially have an impact with us. It'll be interesting to see how what effect that has for sure. Definitely. Yeah. So for CARES for April, we had 17 new applications. And so Kerry was for Kerry's time, we were reimbursed $3,100 from the contract that we have. And then we're still waiting on the new contract for the American Recovery Act funds. They're hoping that those will come through in early June. So hoping to have that contract by June 1st, and then we can give a little bit more of an update on how those funds have been used in the population that those have helped too with that. ICAP, Amy's hours have been about 62.75 hours for the month of April. So it was approximately 15 hours a week, and that time has been going towards helping with office coverage, the community meetings, some client contact and documentation. And so we appreciate having that. Again, the combination of myself and Kerry and Amy, the part-time coverage, allows us to have really good office coverage, rarely having to be closed now. So that's really great. As far as what we're doing with the office functioning, I have worked on getting the website updated. I still need to add some links for community resources to that, but we've gotten some of the updating done. We are still continuing the discussions for a client software program for counties, for the county offices across the state. yeah, I think we had sent out a survey to some of the other offices and we're really working on focusing which counties are interested in that program.
So just to, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So the stuff we were talking about with the systems of care that we got the briefing from 211, that's that kind of a thing, is that, or is that a different, is that just your regular office management?
Yes,
Okay.
this client software program would just be to track the clients in our office. Yeah, just, this report that we're doing, I really feel like we're not accurately capturing who's actually coming into our office or the repeated visits. Like they come in and we help them with this service, but they might come in, that might take 5 visits before we actually get them help with that service. And those are things we're not
right now,
capturing.
just so people know, you guys are using an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. So you're getting some of it, but you're just not getting all of it.
Right. Yeah. And it's hard to track, if somebody was in 3 years ago, how do you know?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I am working on registering Kerry and Amy for an upcoming Poverty Immersion Institute training, it's called. I think it'll be really helpful for them. It's a training that I took about 10 years ago. It was really great. And I think it would be a good opportunity for them to provide some better, just be more informed about how to provide services. So working on that. The nice thing because of COVID is everything is virtual. So there are no travel expenses associated with it. It's just the registration fee, which is about $250. And we have that budget in our budget. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, that's good that you're going to get training for the individuals in your office as
Yeah.
well. That's key, so.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get them that experience. So that'll be good. The other thing is some people from the other welfare offices have recommended that NACO leadership training. And so I just wanted to mention that
The
I'm
sheriff's
interested in
office-
that.
Yeah, the sheriff's office did
Yeah.
it. There was
Okay.
they had kind of a really good deal. I don't know if that still exists, but the sheriff's office did it, and a few people within the sheriff's office and the jail did it and really liked
Pretty
it.
intense.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very good training, so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a discounted right now. They have, it was a one-time discount on do one and get one discounted.
Yeah.
It's just a discounted rate. So if that's okay, do I need to get approval to do that? There's no travel with it. It's all in the office.
Online.
And it's in the budget. I have that.
Because it is a substantial registration, then yeah, you probably should
Okay.
submit a
Okay.
request.
When is the registration deadline? Have you?
I haven't decided for sure which one I'm going
Okay.
to do. But
I don't think there's one right now that's
Yeah.
available. The period has closed, so
it would be
Fall,
either July or
August,
August.
September,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I talked to a guy from NACO the other day about it, and to find the time to commit to it is the hardest part.
It does.
Yeah.
But so just email me so we can get it on the agenda for approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Very good. Okay. And then our actual services, I did go and meet with the Brookings director, which was really helpful especially with the hospital pieces. We had our the first hospital deposition last week, which went well. And I really appreciated Mike's advice, guidance on how to handle what needed to do. So that was helpful. I need to start working on the county welfare guidelines, updating those. I'd like to make that an annual process and also work on updating the amounts the county provides for those associated things. And so that's something I'm working on right now. And then we've really been focusing on providing the support and the case management piece. That's really where our time and energy is going with the rest of the community. And I'm continuing to work on securing the apartment for emergency housing. We had a little bit of a glitch in that the initial apartment that we were looking at is not going to work out, but we met with somebody yesterday and that one is going to work out. I'm taking the new lease to Tom Burns on Thursday, and I'm hoping we can have things in place to potentially be back on the agenda next week.
Was this
For
the
that.
apartment that's over across the
Yeah,
street?
so we initially looked at one across the street, and now actually the church that's across from Gather has an apartment in that one, and it will be a nice connection because it's with a church as well. And so again, I hope to be back on the agenda to talk more about that apartment for that's the apartment for emergency housing for people that are homeless or coming out of jail. Yep. And then as far as the systems of care, we are moving forward with that. I had the steering committee meeting, and from there we developed 2 subgroups, which is a housing subcommittee to address emergency housing and affordable housing in the community. And so I'm working on getting that subcommittee together, which will be a little bit bigger. And then a systems of care, like communication implementation group, and we are meeting, that committee is meeting tomorrow. We did have another interagency meeting last Thursday, so thank you to those of you that attended that. And we will continue meeting monthly for that meeting, and that's moving forward well too. I'm happy with how that meeting is going.
Yeah, that was really good.
Any other questions or anything? And then I just have a situation that I wanted to read through. It's a little bit longer, but I think it's a good. Okay, so this is actually from Stacy Hendricks with Brothers and Sisters Behind Bars. And she had sent this to us after we had a situation that we all kind of came together and worked with. So from her, in her words, today I saw Watertown at its best. 7 organizations working together to lift up the face of a 30-year-old woman hoping for a better life. The best part, it all started with an inmate reaching out for help. This individual asked a jailer a question about what community resources might be available to her for assistance when she was released. Matt was able to use our system of care to contact Sarah at the welfare office. Amy with ICAP in the county and Sarah were able to visit with this individual inside the detention center to establish a relationship and trust and use our system of care procedures to contact Shannon at Salvation Army as well as Brothers and Sisters Behind Bars to communicate about her upcoming release. Gina, the detention center nurse, as well as the jailers, did an excellent job of communicating with the welfare office prior to her release to let Sarah know when they would be releasing her. Sarah met with her prior to release to reassess needs and instructed her to come to the welfare office. Upon her arrival, Sarah was able to give her information, set up communication with the Salvation Army for a bus ride home and a clothing voucher, as well as give her one of Bruce Hested's to-go bags. Brothers and Sisters Behind Bars was then able to transport this individual to the Salvation Army to get her vouchers, as well as provide her with lunch, dinner, and a hotel room for the night. When I asked this individual how she felt throughout her process of being released, she said she felt well cared for and had clarity on what next steps she needed to take to be successful in returning home. I'm so thankful to have been able to witness firsthand the effectiveness of efforts that have been made by numerous people and organizations in order to establish a system of care in order for a community coordinated release to be possible. When people stay in or leave our community, I want them to know that what we all know, that Watertown is truly a wonderful community filled with compassion and hope. So
Good.
that was a good success. And we actually had a similar situation on Friday. And in that one, Access Ministries and Rich Ohm with Fallout Shelter both stepped up and got food and transportation and all of that. So it's good to see good things happening.
Yes,
Good.
absolutely. Thank you for all that
Thank
you're
you.
doing as
Thank you,
well.
sir.
All right, then we will move on to the facilities manager report with Steve. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, everybody. Well, to start out, I guess, been working on budgets and so that for all the departments. One thing that I can highlight on the budgets and stuff, we had Johnson Control come in and do some estimating on the boilers and the chillers and air conditioning units. Looked into the facility manager or the facility dude program. A lot of those heaters and all that stuff is past due or coming due of lifetime expectancies. I know we've been having some problems a little bit with some air conditioning units right now in the jail and also the boilers. We're having a little bit of issue here. We're losing some pressure and so we had quite a bit. So they kind of been investigating. So they drew up a plan for of replacement, certain repairs and so we had for the future. So we had kind of drawn out plan. So working on that with the budgets. As far as the government building goes, just regular maintenance going on here. Detention center, just some repairs, especially always in the cells all the time. There's always something breaking down in all the jail cells. Extension building, second dose vaccinations continue. I believe it's for a couple more weeks here. And livestock and real estate auctions going on out there. And then in the weed department, equipment is getting pretty well ready. Should be all ready to go this week. And had and make a highlight note, if those of you that have certain weeds, especially like wormwood, is really a prime time right now to be spraying wormwood. It's about 6 inches to a foot tall, and it's because this heat, it's going to grow fast. So now would be a prime time to get that sprayed. Also coming up on June 3rd with cooperation of some weed departments, Nature Conservancy and the Game Fish, we are going to do a spring weed tour. This is set for up in the Seachy Hollow area. So if anybody has any interest of going in some woodland weeds and natives and so that, and also in the pastured areas, there will be looking at doing some of that too. So I'll get a travel request put together for that. West Nile, the fogger has been calibrated and be pretty well ready to go. I also applied for the West Nile grant for an amount of $5,000. It'd be July 1st before we'll find out if we've been approved for that amount. Park camping has started, of course. I have all the maintenance full staff going now. The floors up in the upper bathrooms are completed, and they're right now installing the toilets back in there again, and the dividers for in there. And then also the stalls for the bathrooms in Capeska Hall have been all installed now. There was a function in there last weekend, so that has been well maintained. So, and I'll go to a couple things here for on the reservation site. So far, since they've opened the office in April, there has been 163 call-ins or made through the office of reservations, and online 552 online reservations.
Wow.
With a total of 715 reservations so far for this spring, which comes to amount of $59,800 or $186, $59,186. And then there's been $375 worth of wood sales so far.
How much?
$375.
I'm seeing a chart.
What's that?
Put it on a chart, maybe.
Yeah, well, they have drafts that I get, but yeah. But from that also, last year for reservations made this year, there's a total of also 519 reservations made from last year to this year. So
That software seems to be working well.
yeah, there's a few little tweaks going on. One of the things that they're having a little bit of issue with is refunding reimbursements back. Some people's cancellations. Everything goes smooth until you end up turning around and if somebody has a major problem in the of a health issue or something. So we've been refunding the cancellation fee, or, not charging that. That has been their little quirk. It wants to keep putting that back in, and they're having a hard time getting that back. So, but otherwise, yeah, all in all, it's working pretty good and stuff. I know here in this past week, I believe I sent an email out to everybody, and somebody had on a individual that with the online site, especially, they tried to book for a holiday weekend, and because we have that they can book a year out ahead, it kind of they get frustrated because they want to have an opportunity to come in during those times.
Is that something that?
It's been an ongoing deal off and on. There's a few off and on that do complain on that. Yes.
Is that something that maybe we need to evaluate?
We probably should evaluate it.
A year out is
it is a long time. The biggest advantage, like I just pointed out, 519 have already pre from last year. That's a pretty good size amount that's booked out a year ahead.
Yeah.
The other thing that you could do is from that gather that, I thought about, we could turn around and have an extra charge just for those major holiday weekends, that is an option. I know that City Park has a minimum requirement of 5 days. You know, those are other options, and so just because of high demand, some people, you know, so it's something to look at, to think
Yeah.
about.
Do other parks allow people to book out a year ahead?
There's not very many, probably more or less private. All state ones only do a 90-day, with the exception of Custer. Custer State Park is a year ahead.
Yeah, all the
think it's
state
something-
parks are 90 days. And my concern with that is that everybody should have a fair and equal right to camp. And if we're
Then
booking
I'll
a
agree
year
with you there.
ahead of time, then that really prevents people from getting into the park. And we want to be able to open it up to everybody, so.
You know, we're pretty liberal. You can rent a spot for the summer. There's lots and lots of places, and not just in South Dakota, after doing quite a bit of checking, that you have to move, just like City Park, every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. And our policy is we only limit the amount of full timers. That can limit amount. Otherwise, you just fill it up notoriously. So we limit that amount, and so otherwise they can only be in for 2 weeks at a time.
So we probably have people already making reservations for next year? Like
Currently, right
Memorial?
now, they cannot make a reservations for next year Memorial Weekend until before they leave
Okay.
that weekend.
So it's
they
almost
can't
too late.
pre-
If we're going to change that, we need to get it implemented though
It's got to be a year
before.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Before we do it.
right.
Memorial Weekend is coming up really quick. Is that
Mm-hmm.
something that we should put on the agenda for next week then?
That's debatable, I guess, up to you. I mean, we need to look at it for it. If we do it now, probably be pushing it pretty fast. Probably would be something, my opinion is look out a year ahead and then decide that this fall. And so
Because the ones that will be doing it for this year, for next year, so it'd actually be in 2023 is when we would no longer
Right.
allow that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
something we
but-
do need to probably address though.
Yeah. I think so.
Well, one bit of information for you, Steve.
Mhm.
It's kudos for you. It's the floor out at the Extension Center really looks nice.
Well, thank you.
And I was sitting with some commissioners the other day at a meeting from Brookings, and they were just amazed at how nice the Extension Center and all the facilities out there look
Mhm.
and how big it is. I mean, they just, were amazed that we have that much room out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of room, there's a lot of area. And so
Then the next question they asked is, who did the floor? And I said, it was somebody from out of state, I think.
Well, yeah,
I
the
don't know who it
salesman
was.
actually lives in Brookings for it, but the company is based out of Minnesota.
The salesman is out of Brookings?
Yep.
That was the Brookings commissioners I was talking to, so I'll have to.
Yep.
Good, but it looks very nice.
Oh, thank you.
The microphone system out there still isn't up to par though.
No,
There's some, we need to do
To
some
turn
work
up
on
the
that.
volume, it just doesn't go very loud.
Okay.
I don't know if I think it's the old one from here, isn't it?
No.
I don't think
that's
so.
still sitting here.
That's still
It
sitting
has not
here.
been moved out there. It's still.
That's been in there, so I know.
Maybe this
I
would be a
think
good
it's
time to
been-
move that baby out there.
I know that, I think that got put in, I'm gonna have to roughly say, 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
It hasn't been terribly
It's been-
long.
Well-
Not been long ago, but it's been longer than probably what we think.
Right, and that's those speakers that were added as well, but
Right.
it's something, I think they went and
Something
turned up
with
the
it.
volume, but it still didn't, so
Okay.
maybe it's just something that's malfunctioning, I don't know.
Could be.
Because those speakers
If you
are
take
big
that
enough.
mixer from in here and put that out there, that would solve your problem pretty quick.
So,
Probably, yeah.
Could do that.
all right,
Can I just
All
ask
right.
one last question?
yep.
Any,
Go ahead.
You're talking about the facility dude and the big ticket items like the.
yes, the big
ACs.
ticket items, all the
So,
ACs.
so are they helping to map things out? Like,
Yeah,
like the-
they kind of mapped out things, they gave a projection what it would be if you budgeted all this year. And then to map out, they set up a program.
Uh-huh.
There'd be a 3% increase each year as cost estimated. And so
for
we
inflation?
just project whatever year that we want to turn around and look at doing this and how much the estimates.
So facility dude ought to be telling you that though, if the information's.
It don't pop up it don't pop up on an email or so. You got to go in and look at the overdue stuff. And I think it's probably in the software to be able to do that, that it will pop up stating that there's things that are due or coming due.
Because that was that's the reason we brought it basically. was-
I need to learn more of that, you know, more and more I get into it, the more and more I find more things and stuff. So
So are we looking
a
at?
training deal would really be nice for me to go to sometime probably on that. So.
Are we looking at big ticket items next year?
Currently next year, the big ticket item is gonna be his roof.
Okay.
So we just have to start working on some of this stuff down the road here. I don't know what what currently I haven't, talked to Matt or Brad over at the detention center, but I think they're projecting on, because they've been having more issues with their AC units over there.
Yeah, they've had that for several years.
Yeah, that's been a problem. We just need to fix that.
Have they started on a sewer lining project yet?
That's be lined up here August, September, so, yep. All right.
Well, it'd be good if we get kind of a plan in place of, you know, our worst to, you know.
Yep, that's what
start
the biggest thing
replacing
right
some
now
of
is just trying to get, okay, what is the worst, and just start working at it. So it's huge ticket items, I can tell you
Yeah.
that. It just about floored me when I seen it. So,
Cindy,
Thank you,
all right,
Steve.
you bet.
that. All right, thank you, Steve.
you recorded?
All right, we will move
Battery
on
is down.
to our highway superintendent then with Rick.
I can catch it off YouTube.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. And this is what I'll discuss when I go through after my monthly. This is about the engineering project. The scope of work. Well, our guys this is the last day they're gonna crack seal. We probably have some more to do, but we have other things that we need to move on to start doing. We still have some patching to do. We did a little bit. We had some road breakup earlier this spring. We still have a little bit to do on that to get that cleaned up. We've got a pile of reground material in our north yard that we'll start screening and making it into a chunkier stuff and a finer stuff, what we use for different projects. We still have a little riprap to do on County Road 10-2 and 23-4. We get that done. The guys are gonna start hauling P-rock to different locations in the county for our chip seal program. We have roughly 30 miles scheduled to do this summer with a few miles in Pelican Township to do. Some of the chip seal projects will be over by the village of Compasca, Grover, on the west side of Pelican, our County Road 17 there, and then there'll be some up by Florence. We'll do some right into Florence.
The chip sealing we do in Pelican Township, is that where they reimburse us?
Yes.
Okay.
We have finally got where we did the culvert installation in between Pelican and Goose last year. We finally got that seated. So hopefully the little bit of rain we had will get that going. There has been no water flowing through there this year, but it is back just a little ways. So one good rain could start the water flowing between those two lakes again. The guys have started, well, they're partially done with pulling shoulders, trying to get some of the gravel roads shaped up. Over the last year, the gravel gets pushed off to the side and we disc it, pull it back in the middle, and then try and knock the roots out of the sod and get everything shaped back up. Our summer help has started getting the yard and everything back into shape. It won't take much warm weather to burn the grass out there because it's sitting on sand. So it's just, doesn't take long to burn up the grass out there. I've been working on the budget to get that completed. So hopefully we get all that taken care of this week. That's pretty much it on my monthly report. The sheet that I gave you is what I gave to, there was 3 engineering firms, Banner Associates, IMAG, and Yule-Tag to what we need to know out on County Road 81, County Road 23, County Road 6, and County Road 10, what the elevation of the roads that we need to maintain for those 3 residents to get out. And once those, if the water ever gets that high, which someday it may, because right now all that water over there is one level. And it has nowhere else to go but up. Jamie has some video that he shot with drone. So if there's anything else you'd like to add to this, I got the last one yesterday, so I'll bring that next week. I'll put that on the agenda for what the cost.
So this is what you presented to the engineers
Yes.
to base their bid on?
Yes.
Or
So
proposal?
it's their quote, yeah.
Okay.
So is this more like is this a bid or?
No, it's not a bid.
It's
Just
just,
all quotes, just all
Yeah.
quotes, okay.
and I'll bring that next week to show you what the quotes were. So,
And you had conversations with, the DENR on that level, and they're
Yes.
staying where they're at.
yep,
They're not willing to lower that.
yeah, because that roughly has to get between 20 and 25 feet before that water will be able to get out of that basin over there. So every little black pipe, every little stream that runs in there, that water is just going to continue to get higher. And,
And
Well,
if
like-
it's that high on that end, all of this will be flooded.
yeah, we'll have a nice deep lake over there if that gets that high. But there's 3 residents that we have to maintain access out. People to the west can get out.
Yeah.
People to the east can go east, so, but it's all, Jamie's video will show a little what it looks like from the air, so.
No, go ahead and click on your thing. You're sharing, you're sharing your screen. Is it showing on your, is it showing in Chrome? Maybe you need to, maybe you need to share it in Chrome.
While we're waiting for that, Rick, 446th Avenue over by Goose Lake. I was down there the other day by the boat launch area down there.
Okay, yep,
There are some road closed signs
Mhm.
further up the road.
Yep.
There isn't anything where
right
the
next to
water starts to come across the road.
Yep.
And I'm just thinking if somebody bypasses those signs and they hit that water, I'm sure it's been
Yep.
that way for a long time and we haven't had any issues, but I'm wondering about throwing up a barricade
Yeah,
down there
we can
closer
do
to that to
Yeah,
keep
we can do
people
that.
from driving into the water
Yeah.
there.
A lot of times what happens on those, people like to throw them in the lake.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why the one is back further, and we could pull that out into the lane, but it's right.
I'm just wondering about putting it just on the other side of the boat launch
Yep.
area
Yep.
there.
Yep. And
Maybe
we'll
that would
put
help.
one there.
Okay, I'd appreciate that.
You know.
Thank you.
Like I said, we just have issues. We've had one up on a bridge that it was standing in the water
Yeah,
below
I'm
the
sure.
bridge, so it didn't just get blew off there.
I can just envision somebody at night
Yeah.
doing 65 through there and not
Yep.
seeing
But-
that's water's over
You
the
know,
road.
and they cross 2 signs. One's a mile further north, it's road closed to through traffic, and then
Right.
a mile south of that, there's a road closed on the southbound lane on the shoulder. So
I was down there earlier this week and there was that boat launch area there was just packed. I mean, it was full of people down there.
and so they had to rebuild that last year because the boat landing that they had before,
Mhm.
the lake came up so much it covered all that.
Okay,
So there's a boat
Okay.
landing below the boat landing.
okay. All right.
You want to turn those lights off? There's just really a glare from the lights. There, now we can see. Thank you.
Okay, this is on the northwest corner of Medicine Lake. That's our County Road 23. On where the little pothole is basically where the big culverts we put in 2 years ago. to lower that on the west side. It's currently still higher on the west side of the road than the east side, but it's not very far from the bottom of the culverts there. So that basin is going to continue to raise on the east side of the road. So there's quite a bit that'd have to come up to inundate that section of road. And that, the gravel road is our County Road 6, and then it turns into 6A. That takes you over to the intersection of State Highway 20 and our County Road 19 that takes you to Wabash. And that where the land is back and behind, that turns into Horseshoe. This is Medicine Lake here, the first part.
So is all that land to the west of there inundated with water now?
No,
That's what we had tried to prevent,
no,
I believe.
that's down. There,
Okay.
we did have water go through those big culverts this spring.
Okay,
You know, like I said, for no more snow than we had, where did the water come from? It's just a trickle going through there now. But everything on the east side of that county road, that's just gonna continue to rise.
Just for our viewers, are we looking?
East.
That's looking straight east down
Okay.
County Road 23.
Yep, that's County Road 6 on the north side. That runs east and west, then County Road 23 goes south down to Tinkertown to 212.
There's quite a delay on how we're operating.
Yes, with all the.
So once we go to the next video, I can give you the.
Well, the issue is out there that there was a lot of closed basins, but those are all full now. So
Yeah, because
there's nowhere for that to go.
water that comes out of Long Lake runs to the north and then it runs to the east into Medicine and Horseshoe and McGilligan. And that water, like I said, doesn't have anywhere to go but up. So it's got to get between 20 and 25 feet before that water will run out of there. So,
so that was 442nd that we were just looking
yeah.
at.
This will play and just give you maybe a bigger overview. You're looking at Long Lake Stink.
Brenda, that was you and I that went out there and addressed this problem before, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And
That
now-
part, I think.
And that's, water's gotten considerably higher from the time that you were with us.
Mhm.
So,
Now, those residents that are right on the edge, are they inundated with water now or?
No.
They're still out?
they're out of water, but the one, if he doesn't have water in the basement, has the best basement in South Dakota.
Yeah, it's creeping.
Because he has
back.
water on 3 sides of him, and it currently, I suppose 100 feet from his house on the one side from going in the window. You could see on the video that Jamie has, the water has went down from last year, but it's still in his yard on the north side, the west side, and the south side of his house.
And to get to his house, I was out there a while back and drove up through the pasture. But you don't have to drive through the pasture anymore to get there.
No, this is right on County Road 81.
It's right on, okay,
Yeah.
right on the county road.
Yep, it's right on our county road, so.
There's looking west on the same, we just took it up to 350 feet so you get an overview of Long.
Prairie potholes.
Yeah, they're not potholes anymore.
Yeah, they're
It's
either
all one
lakes.
It's all
body of
one.
water.
Yeah. it's-
Is Medicine and Horseshoe connected now?
Oh, yeah, you don't know where one ends and
Yeah.
one starts.
No, I took a trip to Denver the other day and we flew. And really gives you a good idea about how much water we have in our county when you're up that high.
Yeah, we're dry.
Yeah,
need
we
rain.
don't have
Yeah,
issues.
we don't need no rain.
No,
We
no.
don't have issues on the
You
east
got, you
side.
want water, just go over here and take some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
so
there's a
strange
lot of
how,
roads that are
um,
underwater.
Yeah, they're,
There's Medicine and Horseshoe coming together. Medicine Lake Road is inundated.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah, it's a good thing that the east side of the county drains. It's
Yeah.
hard to believe how
Mhm.
much water's on the west side and then the east side doesn't have those issues. That
yeah,
it's
'cause
such a difference.
it's a big area that,
There's a little closer up of where you're.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you can see the culverts that we put in, the big culverts right on the left side. But
So
when you
is the
go,
water on the west side draining into the east side?
it
mean,
was,
it's-
there was just a
it's-
trickle going through there. So that pretty much has stabilized. But like I said, I didn't, as low as it was last fall, I didn't think water would go through there. But where all the water came from in that section, I have no idea.
This will be 82 down to 167. That's coming up. 442, you see where we launched from the intersection once it loads. It's not very responsive on the line.
I think it might be, might want to download the program next time.
How long is it gonna be right before 442nd is under there?
Depends what we get for rain. Right now, it's, the water
I
has
mean-
went down just a little bit. So there's just a little on the shoulder.
How close is it to coming over the road?
There again.
Inch of
depends
rain.
on- Depends on rain. I don't know if an inch of rain would do it, but if we got one of those 3 inches or 4 inches or whatever, we would have water over the road. Okay, this is County Road 81, just west of County Road 23, just south of the spot that's got the water on the shoulder. These are spots that we built up last year. And that's all Long Lake on the left-hand side of the picture. And this is, on the right side is just where it drains across, and then it's just a little pothole. And then that you can see further on the right-hand side at the top, that's Stink Lake. And like I said, these spots are currently 4 to 5 feet out of the water, you know, from the water going down last fall and what we built it up.
Let's go west.
Yeah, so you can pretty much stop wherever you want and fish.
Slow going through the lights.
Yeah.
Shots.
Might be able to move the cursor to the spot.
Yeah.
The first home is just right on the top of this little water hole on the right side. And his residence is back to the north, roughly a quarter mile, between a quarter and a half mile. So he just has right from where the water starts on the right-hand side of the picture to get to the county road and go west to County Road 23, the blacktop. And then the next home is down where the trees are on the top right-hand side.
I think going through Chrome would probably slow it.
And we could look at this next week too, if we had to, so. But this, it gives you a nice perspective of what it looks like from the air, because, you know, from the ground, you can see a lot of water, but you get up in the air and that's all there is water. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just one big body of water there. You know, I'm trying to, like I said, that's why I'm having the engineering firms tell us that stretch of road right there, what elevation I have to keep that at, so those people can get out. So, yep, yeah, it's right in there. But
Yeah, I can't fight with Mother Nature sometimes. These waterways are just difficult to stay on top of.
yeah, And if we didn't have any homes there, it wouldn't be a major issue. But those 3 residents, there's 2 there,
Mhm.
and then there's one on County Road 10-1. And those are all spots that we've had to build up, like the one on 10-1, where the water will drain out, what elevation the water will drain out, or, yeah, that's fine on mine, so.
This is not a short-term solution.
No,
This is going to be a long-term problem we're going to be dealing with for,
Took quite a while to
Years.
fill it up too.
yeah. So
she's full now.
like that between Long and Stink. I didn't think that would go down last fall enough for us to build it up, and it did, which was really nice because it helps out the school bus and everything, but that gets to a certain point that I don't see keep building it up unless it's a small amount, because if that raises 5 feet, there's a lot of ground in there that has to be, and that will probably be into that hole, so.
Is there, it's kind of hard to tell, I'm sure, but is there quite a bit of tiling around there? I don't really think, to my knowledge, I can't remember there being a lot of tile. Is there a lot of tile?
There's tile,
Okay.
'cause like I said, that all starts over by Henry,
Mhm.
south of Henry, and it runs to the north,
Yep.
and then it goes clear into Clark County, up in the northwest corner, and it all drains this way.
Mhm.
Comes through Warner Slough, right on the west side of County Road 27, about 9 miles north of Henry, and that all runs into there. So
Eventually, that's all going to end up in.
Compesca,
Yeah,
if it gets
Compesca.
high enough to run out.
And the Big Sioux River.
Yep,
So,
yep, it'll come into Compesca, right by Compesca Lodge, what I've been told. So, but it's, we get a bad winter, a lot of that's gonna be underwater. And that's why, like I said, why we're doing this now to figure out what elevation that road has to be so those people can get out.
That's and that's no guarantee.
Yeah,
Actually, what we're looking at is building a man-made dam up there by raising the grade and keeping the water back.
no,
Can't
it
do
still
that.
flows, there's culverts.
There's culverts, yeah.
It
But I
all
mean,
flows.
but it'll still be held. It'll
Restricting. the
No,
flow.
it'll restricting the flow, yeah.
But we can't do
Yeah.
that. It's under-
No, we're not, it's, all the roads right now have culverts in it, and it all flows.
yeah,
So that water on the east side, it just continually goes up, and so it pushes back to the west. We're not restricting anything. If it gets high enough, it just runs over the road anyhow. So
right.
we're just trying to keep the road so people can get in and out.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we're not building dams up
Yeah,
there.
we're not building any.
We are
dams.
not
No.
allowed to do that. And that would be a pretty
So
extensive
everything
dam.
has a culvert in it. Like it said, he had the little channel where it comes out of Long Lake, flows east. And you could see on the first grade
Mhm.
where the riprap was kind of an hourglass, that's where the culvert is.
Yeah.
Have you
So-
visited with the residents that actually are there, those 3 parties, those 3 families?
I talked to one of them. One of them, I hardly ever see. They work during the day, so I did talk to him last fall, but he wasn't too concerned about it because the water went down. And the one I asked him if he had an exit strategy. He didn't think he'd need that, but
How many acres do they have out there? How many acres involved each one of these farmsteads?
I couldn't tell you. A couple are just building sites. 2 of them are just small. One probably has 5,
No
10
adjust.
acres. The other one may be the same, and one, I have no idea how many acres they have. They have a feedlot operation and land that they farm and stuff, so.
Thank you. Good job, Jamie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for taking the time and.
I think it's too much data.
And maybe next week we can get it figured out and run through it. So
I'll bring my secret adapter.
All right. Now we're ready to, that's it for your report then?
yep, that's,
Anybody else have any questions for Rick?
I appreciate
Not-
you
We will move on
Appreciate that
then.
barricade thing that we
to-
talked about.
We'll move on to item number 7 then, discussion, possible action to approve a payment agreement from Next Era for, well, it doesn't say possible, discussion / action to approve a payment agreement for Next Era for Crown Ridge 1 and 2 Hall Road restoration. Thank
Okay, I, Waylon Lazius from, Banner
If
Associates.
you'd like to come up.
Jordan, I can't remember Jordan's last name. There you go. So this is, if you want to come up, go ahead.
Yeah.
This is what we received from Next Era about payment for the damage. Go ahead, guys, sit down.
Morning, guys.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
This is what Next Era sent us. There's still some language that we're working on to get everything ironed out, but they have a dollar amount in here on the second page that they're willing to pay. And I talked to Rod, and he said that could go right
Rod
in,
Horton, Department of Legislative Audit.
that could go right into the bridge fund or road and bridge account. So
It goes into your cash,
Yeah.
but then you have to take action to do a budget supplement before you can spend it.
so he did. Okay. I told him he'd
Okay.
be talking to him and Waylon would be talking to him too, so.
Yeah,
Well-
well, it's gonna require a formal budget supplement because your budget is only 4.8 million.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So Waylon's gonna give you a presentation on what's going on, so.
Like Rick said, my name is, you guys hear my stand?
No, that's fine.
You're fine.
Like Rick said, my name is Waylon Blades, I work for Banner Associates in Brookings. And we've been working with Rick for the past couple of years to try to, I guess, be his eyes and ears and a little bit of help on ensuring that Codington County roads get restored back to at least similar condition due to any damages caused by the wind construction project. And in particular, on the Crown Ridge 1 and Crown Ridge 2 wind projects, which are on the eastern half of county here. They run from South Shore all the way down to South Grand. There's about 60 miles of roadway, County highway that was used as haul routes for the wind farm contractor. Codington County entered an agreement with Next Era Energy Resources, who's the developer of this project, back in April of 2019. It was a road use agreement that I believe Codington County State Attorney's Office had an opportunity to review and provide input on, as well as Next Era Energy Resources attorneys in formulating the final road use agreement. In any ways, in essence, that road use agreement provided the opportunity for Codington County to have an engineer provide a pre-construction evaluation of the roads to be used, and then a post-construction evaluation of the roads to be used. And in the results and recommendations of the post-construction evaluation were to be used for restoration efforts for the county roads. And so we've obviously gone through the process of the pre-construction, construction happened, we performed post-construction evaluation reports, provided them to the developer, and they have part of that post-construction evaluation report was an estimated cost of restoration. And this estimated cost was put together back in January when we provided that. And that estimated cost totaled $11,484,475. Now, I'll just, if you don't mind, I'm going to quickly read just one short paragraph out of the original agreement for road use. And this kind of states the developer's responsibilities for restoring the roads. And so it says the developer is responsible for the restoration of all designated roads as specified in the final evaluation of designated roads report. Restoration may include, but is not limited to, the following: services of civil, structural, and geotechnical consultants, design, plans, bidding, staking, testing, observation, repair of damaged roadway areas, additional gravel, asphalt overlays, replacement of roadway basin surfacing, and repair and or replacement of bridges and or culverts. And then it goes on to say, all costs associated with the restoration of the roadways, bridges, and culverts along the designated roads shall be paid for by the developer. The restoration of the designated roads shall be completed within 12 months of the final evaluation of designated roads report being issued to the developer. So essentially, in the agreement, it stated that the developer agreed
to pay for all costs associated. And I guess that's what brought us to this agreement here today that was provided by the developer. Like I stated, the $11,484,475 that you see on this agreement, this draft agreement that the developer sent, that does match what our, I guess I'll call it our preliminary estimate of restoration costs would be. Now, the agreement itself states that they'll cover all costs, and so you know, we would look to reach back out to the developer, and you know, and with the sense that we don't really know exactly what that cost is going to be. This project obviously will have to publicly bid, and we have since put together about 90% plans for the restoration efforts, and our estimate for construction and engineering costs is just under $12 million, and so we're about 500,000 higher than what this dollar amount is. Again, we feel like we've been fairly conservative in our quantities and our estimated costs, but it's very volatile right now. We've bid a lot of projects out from January through April here, and we've seen costs all over the place. We have talked to some local contractors, Dunick and BPI, with a lot of asphalt on this project. Similarly with some road reclamation subcontractors and some gravel servicing subcontractors to try to narrow down maybe what we could expect for costs. But again, a lot of them stated, you know, with the time that this will be bidding, depending on what their workload is, you know, that's going to play a huge factor, especially if the work is to be done by the end of this construction season. So I think what we would be, time is of the essence of this project. Obviously, there is a procedure that needs to be followed in order to back and forth with the developer to get an agreement that is acceptable by both parties, advertising for bids, bidding the project, obviously having the commission act accordingly based off of, you know, the bylaws that are required in order for us to bid and approve this project. Like was just mentioned by Cindy there, you know, there's a process probably that has to be put in place in order to appropriate the funds to the right account. And we're already into May. And so what I think we would be looking for, obviously we're working as a team with the county, Banner and the county, Rick and Lynn, and then Tom Burns, the deputy state attorney, he has been sitting in on a couple of meetings with us as well. He did have a couple comments on this agreement that he would like to see changed, but essentially that this would be the base agreement or the minimum agreement that the county would agree to. And like I said, what I would like to do is approach the developer and essentially state, you know, the agreement said you'll cover all costs, you know, so we will continue forward or proceed forward with the notion that if the cost comes in above this dollar figure, then the developer will be responsible to pay that. If the cost comes in below that, you know, then the developer will be responsible to pay only what the final cost is, because, you know, it's 10%, you know, 10% above or below the engineer's estimate on this is $1.2 million. So there's quite a range that it could be. But obviously, you know, in the end, that's at the comfort level of the county. So
This is what they would like to see. This is what they would like us to agree on.
this is their first draft, I guess, agreement that they put in place. Now, I did attempt to contact them twice last week and again this morning and have not heard back. Unfortunately, a little bit of the communication back and forth is they've got a lot of different personnel involved in these projects because, you know, they have somebody that specializes in each step of the process. And I think they're spread out all over the place. And so they you know, they've been very cordial to work with as far as on this restoration end of things. You know, we presented our reports to them and they reviewed them and at least as far as we understand, you know, they feel that the reports were fair and that they were responsible for the damage that we presented. And so I think that's where they came to the notion that they would offer to pay the estimated cost for repair on the reports. But
Is this kind of how they envision doing it? Because I kind of, when I read our road haul agreement, I thought, you know, that you're going to run the whole process. That they're going to manage the bidding, and all the project management.
Sure.
You know, you're gonna be our eyes and ears to make sure that that's all good. But everything beyond that, they would arrange and do, because I mean, if we're gonna be starting to manage the bidding process, those are costs that need to be covered.
Sure.
So,
Part of that was the agreement we had with Banner Associates here a month or so ago. That was that 200-some thousand for Banner to take care of that. So
okay,
that's,
so, but
and
that's
that's
gonna be-
taken out of next year.
okay, well,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right, so
Taken out.
that's-
Yes,
Yeah,
because,
So that project, okay.
yeah, and this is the amendment to it. So part of the amendment will change how the dynamics of how that process will happen.
That was my thought, Lee, on this. They would come in and rip up the road. And they would come in and they would be in charge of fixing them up to your specifications. Sure. We would not be involved with this. We would not be floating the money in and floating the money out on such a short time frame. The other thing is there a way to get an extension on that time frame? If they put a year out there, a third of that is gone, just about a fourth. Sure. Is gone already, and after September 30th, if we get a bad winter, there ain't gonna be no asphalt.
Sure. And so maybe to answer to some of both of your guys' comments. So the design, the planning, the bidding, and the construction administration that Banner will provide is a cost that's covered by NextEra. Okay. And right, would in the end be part of whatever the dollar figure is that NextEra provides the county. Secondly, I would say the initial way that the Hall Road agreement was written was that the developer was responsible for the restoration, and not necessarily that they would provide all of the work.
Yeah.
It's just that they would cover all costs associated. So as we work through this process, and you guys probably noticed, there were a lot of times where those roads were left in pretty unsafe conditions throughout construction. And then the developer had an opportunity to maintain and restore the roads at least to safe traveling conditions throughout the project. And we felt that wasn't maintained, that they did not do a great job of that. And so this spring, when we met with the developer, the county's team, Rick and myself and Tom, we talked to the developer and said, hey, look, if the developers are going to be responsible for this and you're responsible for paying all the costs, the county is going to have to approve all plans, all bidding, and all restoration work anyways. Would it be more essentially cost effective and time considerate if the county facilitated the project? Because we don't want it to come to November and the developer restore the roads not to the condition that was expected by the county. And then the county would have to say, well, next spring, you're gonna have to tear these roads up and redo them again. And I think that was the main concern. So to your point about 12 months, that was put in place by the developer to ensure that that the road restoration efforts essentially were initiated as soon as they could be after construction ended. Obviously, the developer's home address is Florida, which has a much longer construction season than we do up here. And so we very well are aware of how short the construction season is and how much that may impact the price that we would get as a bid. Now, I don't think that there would be any issue with the developer agreeing to extend beyond that 12 months, but that was actually for the county's best interest.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't put 12 months, the developer may not come back this year, right? And they may wait till next spring and even start. And so, like I said, I don't think that that's something that's set in stone, but initially when the road use agreement was written, it was in the county's interest. Partially because the schedule of the developer initially was that they would have essentially completed work last June. We would have produced the Hall Road post-construction valuation reports by September, October, and this project would have been in January if it started. Well, they did not complete construction until November, and so that put our timeline 6 months behind. And that's why we sit where we do today. And that's why I want to make sure that the county doesn't get stuck with bidding a project in late June that drives up the cost That's, without the developer, ensuring the developer's gonna cover that additional cost. Because I do believe if we did this project 6 months ago, you have a lot more contractors bidding on it, a lot more competitive bid, and a lot more likely that the work.
When you're lining up work for the year, you go bid in January, and
Sure.
February,
Sure.
and as it fills up. My only concern is I have no idea if these figures are right. We trust you because that's what your job is.
Sure.
But they've also got 100 lawyers at least that look into everything, and we have one state's attorney.
I agree.
But we don't stand a bloody chance.
I agree, which is why as I stated at the beginning, they've been very cordial to work with, and they have not batted an eye towards providing this agreement and this dollar figure to the county at this point. I don't know what I was hoping to get out of the gentleman that I've been trying to contact with next door, who's their project manager for restoration, was what their approach was to get to this point, and if he sees them being willing to do anything else, or if they see any more pushback as well, then we'll let somebody else take a look at the agreement and they can decide what's fair. So I think that obviously there are some benefits to taking what they provided as the agreement and amending it so that the language is appropriate for the county.
Yep.
But also I do think that the county obviously is entitled, all the restoration costs, and so if it were to come in above what the dollar figure was here and portions had to be cut out of the project, I mean, that's obviously an option. We feel that we've put together between Jordan and Rick and myself, a pretty fair restoration plan. There's going to be 14 miles of completely reconstructed road, another 17 miles, I think, of asphalt mill and overlay. All of the gravel roadways will receive additional gravel surfacing. All of the areas that were disturbed will be revegetated and all that sort of stuff. And so there is a lot. The county's going to end up with better roads than what they started with, but that's the only way the developer could return the roads back to similar condition.
So you put in, I want to come to a point here.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry.
You put in a lot of hours into this. There's a lot that goes into this.
Sure, absolutely.
One of the wind tower companies sent a guy up here. He was from Utah, an older construction guy. He was here for about 2 weeks. And suddenly they pulled him out. Was he all done with his job already?
Yeah.
Or didn't they like what he was reporting?
Sure, I guess I can't speak to that. We do have a little bit of experience working with wind development and restoration work over in Dual County with Jamie Hintz a few years ago. And actually now we are working with Dual County on 2 separate wind projects and we're Codington on 2 separate wind projects. So we're learning as we go. I believe that they have a different approach to the initial and final evaluations, and we put a lot of manual effort into some different aspects of it. Where sometimes I think that some of the reports that we have seen are more technology based, and they provide some information but not all the information, and that's why on behalf of the county, or working on behalf of the county as part of the project, we obviously want to do our due diligence so we could have a leg to stand on when we put $11.5 million worth of restoration recommendations in place. You can't stand behind that if you don't have at least some decent.
So what is your recommendation? You think we should go with that amount, or?
So I guess
stand
that's
back?
where, I would like.
We still have
Yeah.
more language.
Yes.
Cleaned up in the
That's the
contract.
start.
I would like to see where the county, I guess, would give Rick the authority, or Rick through ourselves or whomever, to continue discussion with the developer and use this as the base or the bottom. I mean, like I said, I would like the language to say that an initial escrow account of $11,484,475 is provided in the name of the county, and once the project bids, any costs above that will be borne by the developer, and any costs below that will be returned.
Yeah. So
Question, it says this covers everything. start to think that's what the chair says that.
And that's why
Yeah.
I don't.
We don't know that that's
think
gonna be the
we agree to
case.
this,
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I'm agreeing with you.
So,
But
yeah,
I didn't feel that I could start negotiating with the developer.
We get an agreement from the state for some relatively minor thing and it's pages and pages and pages. And here we get $11.5 million from 3 or 4.
I have a couple questions. So this is in our best interest if the county takes it over and kind of watches this process. There does need to be some language put in that Tom found that will be key for us for future, if anything else comes up that we're not aware of. I agree, like the base, but we realize there could be additional costs that we would expect them to pay as well. When would we expect to receive these payments? Because will this be before anything starts? Because we don't have that kind of money in our budget to cover some of this.
Sure, so I guess that would be the second leg of this is the process that needs to be put in place in order for the county to receive the funds before, preferably before the county would even advertise for bids.
Right.
Obviously at the very least, an agreement would need to be signed by all parties in place by then, but I assume the county would be more comfortable if the funds themselves were also in place before they
Absolutely.
even advertise.
Be very
They would
comfortable.
have to be. We don't have that kind of cash.
Sure.
But how are we gonna know what that amount is until the
Well-
project's
Well,
bid?
so that's why we would escrow a dollar amount.
Yep.
That would be put in a fund for the county to draw from.
Yep.
And then once the
$1
project is bid,
Nice.
Then we'll know.
because if we're 10% below on estimate, it could come in at 13 million or 14 million. If we're 10% above it, it could come in at 10 million, and then the county, and then there's $1.5 million too much in
Yeah.
escrow. But all of that language would have to be, I guess,
Worked out.
written in this agreement.
Mhm.
And as I mentioned, it's very time sensitive, which,
Is,
So,
And
is
Go ahead, Nate. So the challenge sounds like it's getting time to sit down with the developer and figure this out.
Yes.
Sure, and we've met with them a few times
Yes.
to get to the point of them providing an initial agreement, essentially that, and this was completely drawn up by their parties. We had no involvement in it, and drawing this agreement up. And so we would like to respond back to this agreement with our preferences to be added to the agreement.
Well, I would be okay with authorizing Rick to participate in that.
And our state's attorney.
Our
Yeah,
state's
and I've
attorney.
been part of those discussions as
Discussions.
well, and on the calls.
Okay. I'll be okay
We'll
with that.
continue that, just so that we can get this kind of going and make sure that language is in there. This is a starting point, but yeah, obviously, if it's going to be more, we expect them to pay more. As far as the attorney part, other counties have just used their state's attorney unless, you start running into an issue, then we would look at maybe going outside and hiring additional help in that area. But as it is right now, it's been working okay.
well, our state's, go ahead. Our state's attorney, which does a good job, but this is kind of a specialty field.
See, and I asked earlier about finding someone outside of the county and that ended. We went with our state's attorney, so.
Oh, and I think we can keep on that path
Yep.
until we
Yes,
have
I
an
think
issue.
it's fine.
We
at this
recognize that we
point.
have a problem and then.
Yes,
Yep.
then we need to do something different, but
And that's Tom's
yes.
aware of all this, so.
Tom has been very good. He's caught
Yep.
different things in this agreement that I agree with, so I think he's.
Do we need a motion to,
No, you just
Yeah.
advise the highway
That's a
superintendent
consensus.
to keep negotiating with
Yep.
with
Aye.
the company.
Banner
I don't
and-
think you need a motion.
No.
You're not adopting an agreement.
Right.
If we were gonna go to wet language and things like that, I know that this county doesn't get involved with the township and the state don't get involved with the county, but is there some ways that the county and the state could look at this? Because it's a big project.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, from my perspective, I don't have any resources with.
And I don't either. It was just a question.
Attorney General's office. I mean, I think that the county is able to do whatever they want in regards to review, that sort of thing, I would assume. So we do have some support from the Public Utilities Commission. They have offered their help if necessary in regard to any aspects of the project that they can provide support.
Well, and the PUC actually came out and
Yes.
evaluated our road situation. We made a comment, public comment on that.
So
Yeah,
we-
so
we added those.
we have that support without needing to go.
It's fine. It was just a question we brought up now rather than 6 months down the road.
They kind of leave it to local control, so that's good.
Thank-
All right, any other questions? Did you want to add anything to the conversation? Kind of left you sitting there.
George
Okay.
has done pretty much all of the plan, production, design, and things.
Thank you for that.
Done good. Thanks.
Thank you,
Well,
guys.
we'll keep moving forward and try to get this language in there that is best suited for the county and try to get that money up front. I guess
Yeah.
we're going to need to have that as well, so.
Yeah, and as soon as we get the language for
Yep.
both sides.
Yep.
We'll have it back in here as quick as we can, so.
Sounds good.
Like you said, we need to get this thing going.
Yeah,
Hopefully sooner than
absolutely.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, next year could be a whole new thing again.
Try to advertise by the end of May, so.
Good.
Coming close.
Yeah.
Be good.
Very
Right.
close.
All right.
All right,
guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
And I would say it isn't on behalf of these guys, part of the issue is just trying to get them to respond back. Because I would say we've had good representation of trying to contact and to try to get this done. So it's not on our end necessarily. Item number 8, discussion, possible action to adopt a new employee pay scale and to establish an implementation date. And I think Natalie, I'll maybe have you come forward here as part of this discussion, if that's okay. You've been very involved in this, so. I guess I don't know who wants to take the wheel first. Lee, were you going to mention
Yeah, I can
something or?
So basically, last week we had the executive summary, or executive version of the report where Dr. McGrath briefed us. And so what we're talking about here is the appendix for the non-union pay scale, basically, for employees that they're recommending. So the 12, she talked about going into 12 steps. So reducing the whole thing. So you don't have all these separate schedules. And then you had a uniform spread from step to step, so 2.5% from step to step. And then, and this is also based on all the position analysis. She had all the employees filling out the questionnaires. So she could kind of peg where, say, an admin assistant in one department, how does that equate to an admin assistant in another one? Do they equate, all figuring out all that stuff. So you didn't have, like one department with a pay scale, another department with a pay scale, so you had a countywide pay scale. So then the thing to emphasize though, that we still have to negotiate the union contracts, and we want to do that. Generally speaking, we want to do that on a similar 12-step scale that kind of fits in with this. The other thing, the reason we have to do this fairly soon is because of the budget, and so to give our departments the ability to budget accurately for next year. And then we also have to think about when do we want to implement this. I would suggest, did you want, before I go further, do you want to say anything, Natalie?
No, you got it. You're doing good.
All right. So I would suggest that we implement this year. So that means an additional cost. We figured out, that was for the annual difference between what we're doing now and to implement this would be on the order of $190,000 to $200,000 a year. So if we say implement in September, which would give some time for payroll and all those folks to make adjustments, and we also have to make sure that we're good. So separate from approving this, we're also, correct me if I'm wrong, Natalie, if we're going to need to also approve, the placement of everybody. I mean, I think that would probably be a separate action. But the general principle as that Victoria gave us, or Dr. McGrath gave us, was that if somebody's at a particular pay rate, you just go to the closest pay rate, but you don't go below. So you go to the next highest pay rate and whatever step. So that may mean your step would change, but then again, we're doing the whole system. So and most people's steps probably will change. Yeah. So that would be what I would suggest. So if we need to put this in a motion, I would suggest we adopt this for a non-union pay scale, make it effective and with an implementation date of the 1st of September. So I'll make that motion, and then
I'll second the motion.
All right. The only question I would have is, I think I have an idea, but where were you thinking on these initial funds were going to come out of? Because obviously none of our employees have budgeted for this.
Right. So I think here there's two. The commissioners, I believe, has I believe has $250,000, and that's what we budgeted. Now that we usually get caught by some of the
Court
legal
appointed
fees,
attorney.
a lot of, if there's a major court trial. So, I mean, it is possible. We do have enough in surplus funds, both in particularly the unprogrammed surplus. Well, it's like the proper term is surplus, but those are the reserve funds. So, but we might have to, I mean, if we have to supplement it, then we're gonna have to do
A
another
budget hearing,
quick
right?
hearing, yeah. So, I mean, that's possible that would happen if contingency doesn't cover it, so.
Okay, your motion is for non-union pay scale. What happens to the union employees on September 1?
Hopefully they'll have completed their union negotiations prior to that.
Otherwise, they'll have to
We will
stay.
be starting those now.
All right,
Otherwise, they'll stay at their current.
Otherwise, they would stay.
So, any other questions?
What was the response that you got back from employees, I guess?
It's mixed we knew it would be in a situation like that. I will say just, outside observation, I feel like McGrath did a great job for you overall. I think that this scale is much more transparent than your previous scales were, which also does create some individual issues. When you were looking at, as she said, 34 different systems, previously, it wasn't as easy for me to say, here's where I am compared to somebody else, because I had to do a little bit more digging with that. And it's more transparent now, which creates some internal conflicts. But if you take individual situations aside and you look overall, I think this is a great plan for the county. I think it was well researched. And yeah, I mean, I would recommend it, I guess.
So if people are looking at the YouTube stream, we have starting at the part-time employees at the top. So it goes, at that level, it's $15 an hour. This is the temporary employee, seasonal employee.
Seasonal.
Yeah, seasonal, I should say. And then starting with step 10, or not step 10, but pay grade 10. And then going all the way, and this is only 4 pages as opposed to, I don't know. How many years, so I don't know how many.
Really
pages we have.
adopted yet.
So going all the way up to pay grade 80E, when you're talking about the highly qualified professionals. So, and then of course, only looking horizontally, looking at just 12 pay steps as opposed to a varying number up to 14, sometimes less than that, sometimes more than that in previous with, and also a very even, an even spread between pay steps. So it's always going to be 2.5%. So there's still a few other, so I wanted to take this action soon so that we can help our department's budget. There are a couple other things about the implementation, like assigning people to a particular step.
Right.
But generally, the rule is going to be, you go to the next highest, right? Until you look at what you're getting paid now, and you go to the next highest one.
Nobody will take a pay
Yeah,
cut.
so nobody takes a pay cut.
Yeah. And
That's
we're-
the general principle.
Right, and this is the only thing we're addressing. Any of those other information we received as part of this study is something we will be ongoing discussion about. Everything else will remain the same. It's simply this wage scale, so.
So and some of this, I think the placement stuff, we're going to want to address that really soon as well. So.
Right.
So this, enter in the discussions phase, and I know I'm in the minority. This non-union employees is not based on performance. This is just longevity based and on what other people might be getting paid for their job in that particular job. So if you don't do your job, you still get a pay raise. And that money is being paid by people that got jobs that are wage-based. If you don't perform in your job, you don't get a raise. If you don't, then you can't pay your taxes.
Isn't this done by evaluations though?
Yeah, well,
The way
here's
they
what-
get their staff. Go
I think
ahead.
let me clarify here. So if they're working for us now, presumably they're doing their job. Otherwise, they wouldn't be working for us now. So in that sense, it's performance based. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, then to go from one step to the next, I mean, this is some of the other stuff that we have to work on. Is some of the personnel policy aspects of this. Is maybe simplifying our evaluation system so it's a little bit easier to use. Not going to be extreme, but if you're doing your job and you're doing it well, you go to the next step, and we need to set the date when that's going to happen. Either we do it like we are doing it, just whenever somebody's anniversary is. It's kind of messy. What the study recommended is that we just pick a time in a year.
Everybody.
Like
Everybody
mid-year.
gets their space done.
Same time.
So that would be, so in a sense, if somebody's working for us now, hopefully they're performing well, otherwise they shouldn't be working for us now. So that, in that sense, it's performance based. And then the other part is if we do need to address our evaluation system a little bit, get that thing so it's, a manageable thing that department heads can handle. And then that would dictate whether or not somebody gets a pay step increase.
I can agree with that, Lee. I'd like to have you amend your motion a little bit, but have this based on a positive evaluation.
Talking to your mic, Charlie.
I guess I don't understand how else would be. So
there's nothing in there about having to have a positive evaluation to get a raise.
So
That would be in our policy.
So the option would be, what I hear you suggesting is that they would stay at the old, so you have this old pay scale for people that.
No,
we
even
think are
on the
doing a
new
bad
pay
job.
scale,
Okay,
even on the new pay scale.
I think what he wants you to do is to add the part in there about if they have a positive,
You have to have a
Meets,
positive.
yeah, it's
meets
really
your-
just a meets expectation.
but that we can handle in our policy handbook. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be part of this part of it. That's something that we can address as part of the.
And that's
the
actually in
policy.
your current system.
I'd like to see it included in this.
That's what you have right
I would
now.
like
They are
see it
supposed to
included in
have
this
a
motion.
meets
well,
expectations.
I think we all agree we want the employees to perform, according to their job, according to the expectations, but this isn't about that. This is just simply shifting to a new pay scale,
Right.
Looking at competitive rates, not based on the individual, based upon the position and what they're doing, what they're assigned to do. So it's not about the individuals, it's about the positions. So that's, and I don't want to, I appreciate the concern, but I would rather not cloud the issue.
There'll be some details to work out in how the implementation takes place, the
Mhm.
policies, the,
Yeah.
personnel manuals.
So the
things like
action,
that. We
the
can work
motion is
towards
just to
that.
approve
Yes.
this recommended
Yeah.
salary schedule.
Yes.
That's the
And
motion.
That's
And it
what we are
started-
doing.
And it started on the 1st of September.
Okay. And I will second
Yeah,
that
and he
motion.
seconded it. So we already have that motion in second. We're just kind of on discussion. I don't know if there's any other discussion. If you want to amend his motion, you can, but then you need to get a second in order for that to go through. So I guess if that's something you feel, you have that ability.
The question that I would have, and I think I know what the answer is, but in order, if we okay this today, we know for sure that it's gonna cost the county $190,000 to $200,000 basically to implement it. Is that right?
Annual cost.
Annual.
That's
That was
Annual
so
cost.
for this
Right,
year.
so if we do September 1st, you can
It
take
would-
that
it
by a
would
fourth.
Prorated.
Yeah, prorated.
Mhm.
But this is it. On an annual cost, that's what, and then in addition to this, then the increases would be based on COLA.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. And the steps going forward, which currently, your current system costs you a significant amount as well.
Would
with
you
the
all
steps.
start on step 1 with this then? Or do you still have the opportunity to start you on step 5 on a 12-step system?
That's some of the discussion we'll have to have in the personnel part of it of how we implement, but I believe in the recommendation, she did have some guidelines of where new employees would start, some ranges that could be approved by myself, some ranges that would need to come to the commissioners if you were going to start over a step 1.
Well,
So if we hire somebody, now these steps are all supposed to be averaged out with everybody. We're all supposed to be even with the private sector and
Not all the private sector,
Not the private.
similar counties.
other counties. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. And so we should start them at a step 1, a new hire.
Not always. There'll be some exceptions to that. So in this, step 6 is considered the average market, which is considered somebody that has approximately 5 to 6 years of experience, could be less, could be more. So if you had somebody that came in, let's say in your sheriff's deputy office or whatever, and they had been a 10-year deputy in Brookings County and they came to you, you probably would not start them at a step 1. You'd probably start them a little higher given their 10 years of experience.
Yep.
If it was somebody coming in brand new that had never had any experience, then yes, they would definitely be at a step 1.
But
So
it's
there's
not
still some
automatic,
you need
but
to
it's not
consider.
automatic.
No, that needs to go through an approval process.
So when you look at hiring somebody, you look at their experience and you say, well, I mean, based on your experience, it looks like you would fit about here in our step system. Is that, then you make a job offer if you like the guy. So that's how it works. I mean, so.
And that can be left up to HR or the
Yes.
department head making
Yeah,
that
that's
hire.
what we'll set
the
some
hiring
guidelines.
determination.
You will set
It's
some
within
guidelines.
this point and this point is where you
But
fall.
let me emphasize that this is about positions and what
Not
those positions entail. It's
Right.
not the individuals. For if people are wondering, if people are wondering, I mean, that's what this is about. So if people are wondering where they're going to end up in the pay scale, though.
Try not to have a stroke over here.
If people are,
We got a motion.
Yep. I don't, is there more discussion? So we're simply talking about this right now. All these other details, we still do need to work out. We got to accept this and the implementation date.
This is just so department heads can start their budgeting process or complete their budgeting process.
And we have more work
And
to
we have
do
details, yes.
on all the rest of the
definitely.
details.
So we're voting on this without knowing all the details. Is that correct?
I think we know the
Is that what
details.
you're saying?
She gave us recommendations of how to implement.
What we're
some of the
voting on,
different-
Charlie, is right here in front of you. It's the paper copy. That's what we're voting on, is the pay
And
scale.
I'm believing more in openness so that everybody has, all the people out there have an opportunity to know exactly what's going on.
They do. If they're
The
looking at
executive
YouTube, they
report
can
is
see the
posted
numbers.
on your,
Executive session?
the executive report that she provided is
Yes.
posted on your Codington County
Everything is in there.
homepage.
Yeah, and it's the same as what she said last week. She
So
talked about the steps and the processes.
essentially, we're taking one of her recommendations and considering adopting it, so possibly adopting it. So then that's the pay scale recommendation.
Yeah.
So,
One step at a time here, so.
I don't know, I think when we started an employee, at least we have something to go by, and I can understand the clarity that makes a lot of sense to me, but I still, I guess it has to be road tested for me to really feel comfortable, and it's gonna just take time we're gonna have to go through 3 years at least. That's my theory, always go 3 years before you can really say, it was a good idea, that was a stupid idea, That's kind of the way I feel about it, but I know we're answering the request of the employees. They're the ones that wanted us to do this. I think sitting around the table here, there were a few of us that really kind of turned up our nose and said, this is nuts, but we're honoring their request.
I think it's great that you are trying to do right by the employees and keeping up their wages and looking at what is comparable and all those kind of things. As I said, there'll be some hard individual things, but overall, you're doing right by the employees and trying to look at these things and not burying your head in the sand about it.
Right, and I guess I was, what came out of it was good to know that quite a few of our individuals were right where they should be. So that was good to know that as well, that we are,
Well, and the problem with our existing pay scale as it sits right now is that it's a patchwork quilt at best over 20 years of assumptions and where are we going to put this person and why. And this gives us the guideline. This actually is the meat in the pay scale that we've been waiting for.
So we ready to vote? Any other discussion? Cindy, I think-
There is part, don't get me wrong, there are parts of this I like very well. But there's parts of it I equally dislike.
You want to call the roll, please?
Gable,
Aye.
Waterman,
No,
Johnson,
Aye.
Van Duzen,
Aye.
Hanson.
Aye.
That is 4 in favor and 1 against. The motion would carry.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie is still here. Let's move on to item number 9 then. Discussion, possible action to pass a resolution to enact a ban on open burning. From what we've been hearing on the weather report, we maybe don't have to deal with this, but I guess you can just kind of fill us in what your thoughts are.
I see no issues this week. Looks like we have equal chances all across the rest of the week, moving into the weekend of 30, 40, and 60% chances of some moisture. Not looking at a lot, but anything we'll do and we'll take what we can get. But currently, everything is still in a very good green. And as that process has played out this last week with a little heat, we've greened up quite a bit. So
Sounds good to me.
Very good.
winds are looking down on the down low. So I think we're in a good again.
Perfect. Yeah, that's one nice thing. It has not been windy the last few days, so.
If you are going to do any controlled burns, call the 911 center.
Absolutely.
882-6210. Don't call 911.
When
Yeah.
you start and when you finish, preferably.
Thanks.
Yes, when you get done as well, that would be good to know. Item number 10, action possible discussion on COVID-19 practices, procedures, policy. Now that we've kind of got through the wage, I think there are some things we need to do, but not today. So we'll keep that on the agenda. Item number 11, action to approve claims for payment.
Nothing today.
All right, how about action for automatic budget supplements?
Nothing today.
Personnel changes, didn't see any of those. Travel requests, none of those. Public notices, possible quorum of commissioners at. Anybody have anything on your calendar that you think? We could have a quorum. Forums are done. I don't really see anything up till next week unless someone else has something. Old business. Do we have any old business? Hearing none. How about new business? I have a couple items. First of all, we're going to need to put something on the agenda to allow Cindy to register for us to receive those dollars that will be coming from the federal government. So in order to start that process, Cindy gets to put her name and social security number and all that right on there. So I'm sure she's still.
That's
doing
kind of
that.
like a grant application.
Yeah.
So
So we need to get that on the agenda.
It's action by the governing board, so I think I
Okay.
have it on the agenda for next Tuesday for you to authorize me to apply for the 5.4 million that has been assigned to Codington County.
Right. And I did also, I signed up for the NACO conference. I plan on going in person in July. I did try to do the one, the ledge one online, and that's a very difficult process trying to follow through on that. So the registration time period is right now, if you get early bird, you get a better deal.
When is that?
So it is July. It's earlier this year, the second week in July. So
Let's start on the 11th.
yeah,
Or
9th,
10th,
10th,
okay.
11th, 12th.
Okay.
Those are the dates. It's in Maryland this year. It was supposed to be in Texas, but because of COVID, they moved it up there. They're using the facility down in Texas, I guess. So, all right, item number 18, is there anything for the open? Don't think we had any public comment. Anyone else have anything? Hearing none. I believe we have an executive session on a personnel issue. Does anyone else have any other reason for executive session? All right, then I would look for a motion and a second to go in for personnel issues.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Gable. Did you second it, Troy, or not?
I
Okay.
will. Second.
Okay, second by Van Duzen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Personnel issue, will there be any action taken after?
I do not believe so, no.
No action taken after.
No,